Well, it's the final day of the ANC's policy conference. Party President Cyril Ramaphosa is expected to deliver the closing remarks there at Nasrec today. ANC Treasurer General, meanwhile, Mashatile, has conceded that the party has become weaker. He says some people joined the party to ruin it from within. Mashatile says while the party has grown in numbers, its quality has become poorer.
The president said the ANC is at its weakest at the moment. Yes, we're not as strong as we used to be. That's true. And there are many reasons to that. And let me go a little bit back. When immediately after the unbanning, the ANC attracted many people in its ranks. You will recall that we used to boast that we have more than 1 million members, which is true. But that came with its own problems. There are many people who came into the ANC for wrong reasons. And instead of strengthening the ANC, they actually weakened it by their behavior. We started having more problems of discipline and so on. So whilst in numbers we grew, in terms of quality, we became weaker. We did strengthen our political education committee to begin to bring these new members to be inducted, to be educated on the ways of the ANC, its values, but it will take time.
Well, Newzroom Afrika's Mohlaoli has been following those proceedings at the conference over the past weekend. He's there again at the stroke of 6 o'clock this morning, Tumaole. How's it been going over the past couple of days?
Very good morning to you, Michelle. Well, it's been quite interesting and very busy. It's been quite a tight program, and a lot has been coming out of the sessions here at the policy conference of the African National Congress. And chief among those, as could be expected, would be the issue of rejuvenating and reviving South Africa's economy post the COVID-19 era. And of course, post the effects of state capture. These have been very consistent messages that the ANC says that it is willing and able now to turn things around, and it is calling on its members to fight corruption. And these are messages that have been coming through for the last couple of months quite consistently. We know that in the weeks and days leading up to this particular policy conference, there have been those briefings that the ANC has been holding to try and sensitize the public and its members about what the topics and agendas in terms of the plenaries here were all about.
Today, closing remarks, also feedback from the different commissions that have been sitting, Tumaole. In terms of the feedback issue, have you been able to, and I suppose the other journalists there as well, been able to gauge what's really taking place behind closed doors in those sessions?
Well, Michelle, behind closed doors, really, one can only fathom what the scope and the tone of those discussions and engagements could be. But what we have been able to do is talk to people on the sidelines of this particular conference about what it is that has been discussed and what it is that we can expect. And of course, these would be senior members of the National Executive Committee of the ANC, and that is the body, the most senior body that oversees policy and oversees matters like discipline. Many debates have been going on about what is going on in the ANC, and chief amongst those would be the issue of economic recovery. Now, I managed to speak to a couple of people about this issue of economic recovery. The national editors, the National Business Forum was also here, and they were basically saying that recovery also depends on policy, and that policy implementation as well as oversight is very, very key. But of course, we will be listening to some of the issues. Let's hear what David Mohlaoli, a senior NEC member, had to say about what the deliberations they had behind those closed doors in the commissions.
On the issues that are affecting Russia and the Ukraine in terms of the conflict, our observation is the behavior and the interest of the United States in terms of its own policy position, that they will not want to have any emergence of a new rival. But at the very same time, we know that the behavior of NATO to expand beyond the old agreements that were signed in the Warsaw Pact, these are some of the challenges that we face. We know that the Russian Federation equally had put some of the demands on the table, very worried in terms of dealing with those particular issues. As a Commission, our stance as South Africa remains that we believe that any conflict must be resolved through negotiations, not war. And we are very hopeful that this conflict, it must come to an end at a particular point, because it's no longer affecting the people of Russia and Ukraine, but even us in the African continent, we are affected on the basis of food insecurity. The cost of living is very high, inflation, the debts, all these other issues that are coming in, including the issues around the issues of fuel. And remember, we are a nation that is dependent on others when it comes to issues of fuel. We are calling for the strengthening of multilateral institutions. We condemn the issues of unilateralism in dealing with those particular issues.
Well, that was, of course, the ANC's commission and the various delegates looking outward. But, of course, they're also looking inward, and the issue of the use of technology and how technological advancement can help fast-track development in society also came into sharp focus. Let's listen now to what Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma, of course, another senior ANC NEC member, had to say about the discussions there and what we can expect from the party emerging from this conference.
We must use technology to solve societal problems. We must use technology, of course, to advance the economy. We must also use technology to look at issues around climate change and so on. So this was, and then we said, what are our comparative advantage? What can we do to assist young people? Because we have a young population. So science and technology should assist us to ensure that young people are able to innovate, are assisted in their innovation, but also create jobs.
Tumaole Mohlaoli, of course, live just there at Nasrec as we continue to unpack what is today the final day of the ANC's policy conference. Tumaole, I'm sure we'll speak to you a little later on in the program as well.